Good day and welcome to the Power Up. I'm your host, Tami Hill Thomas. So excited to come together where we get equipped, educated, empowered, and elevated so that we can make a difference where we are. Welcome. Let's get started as we go inside the news. We want to start with an alert shared by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, as they've elevated this being National Influenza Vaccination Week, NIVW. If this is the annual observation in December, elevated to remind everyone from 6 months older that there's still time to get vaccinated so that you can stay healthy during these holiday seasons. Vaccinations are particularly important for people who are at higher risk of developing serious flu complications, including pregnant people and young children. Millions of children get sick every year with the flu, and thousands sadly get hospitalized as a result. And pregnant women also at the highest risk for developing complications. Since the flu virus is constantly changing, it's important to protect yourself and your family. So we are elevating this and sharing the CDC's alert. Consider getting your flu vaccination every year as the best way to reduce the risk for the flu. You can also get information that protects your family and helps decrease, even with those that are around you, the seniors, anything to help prevent hospitalizations and death. Together, as we recognize this National Influenza Vaccination Week, we can make sure that those who we care about are the most protected. You can get information to help your family by going to www.cdc.gov. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention pioneers so much research. We saw that during the COVID-19 epidemic. The flu, just as COVID-19, is airborne. So you can be speaking to someone and not even know that they're carrying it. And all it takes is for you to inhale it through your nose, through your mouth, for it to cause respiratory complications. So we need you to be educated. We also want to take a moment to us also sound the alarm by the CDC for people infected with RSV. Usual symptoms are runny nose, decreased appetite, sneezing, fever, wheezing, and we hear it most in those wonderful little babies, our sweet fools that are so subject to RSV. But it is also a disease that can affect those who are aged as well. Consider making sure that your children are checked for the RSV infection. Make sure that you speak to their primary care provider and those seniors around us who are again subject to having a harder opportunity, a harder chance to fight on respiratory disease. Most RSV infections go away on their own in 1 or 2 weeks, but it can cause severe illness in many people. If you notice that you have that fever and that pain, there are some things that might be helpful, such as those over the counter fever reducers like that acetaminophen or ibuprofen. Making sure you're drinking enough fluids constantly so that if it's hiding in your throat, you're washing it through your system. And most importantly, getting educated. The Center for Disease Control has elevated information on RSV, how it impacts infants, young children, and older adults, those who are at the increased risk for severe RSV. Remember, prevention options exist. There are things you can do at home in your community, like getting vaccinated, making sure that your body is full or stronger with those antivirus. So that's part of the vaccination. Making sure that RSV is as commonly treated as the flu, as a cold, as now even being aware of COVID-19. This year, the CDC has recommended multiple new immunizations to protect those at the most risk. Our adults who are over 60, it's more important that you help your body fight what's in the air around you than just waiting until you've got to be in an ER for hours to then have to be treated. Get educated. Find out what the vaccination includes. Find out how you can know what the underlying medical conditions are that can be amplified by RSV, even by the flu. Family, we elevate this information to equip you so that you can make a difference in the community and family members around you. Learn what information is available through your primary care and the CDC.gov. Always make sure that you get educated. Remember, knowledge is power, and your voice in your community goes well beyond just your home. If you're a coach, that gives you a platform, a teacher, maybe that book club leader, and who knows, maybe you just have a social media platform. Still a voice that can reach the World Wide Web. We hope this information was helpful because we need you good and your family living your best life. Get educated, equipped, and then come on and make a difference where you are. Family, we're excited to bring back one of our amazing mental health advocates as we move into elevating seasonal depression. So stay tuned because there's so much more after this.
Hey everybody, this is Regina Hutt, the wellness practitioner on Empowered Mornings. We'd like to invite you every Wednesday night, 8 p.m., uniquely and gorgeous, to keep your mind locked and loaded on WIN Network. Hey, how you guys doing? This is Regina Hutt, the wellness practitioner at Empowered Mornings. Join me every Monday at noon to work out with Regina on WIN Network.
This is Tami, host of The Power Up on the We Empowered Network. Join me every Friday at 12 noon as we discuss news, purpose, and perspective.
Welcome back to The Power Up. Family, one of the best parts about this platform is the opportunity to bring advocates who not only have lived moments of triumph, but who use their voice to share and educate. Today, we're joined again by Carissa Riddle, who is a global coach and a mental health advocate, one who has used her opportunities to not just work one-on-one with individuals, but share statistics, approaches, how seasonal depression awareness can be something that we're not all just aware of, but how we can personally make a difference to our family members, to those in our communities. Know this, it's real. And it cannot just be a mental health issue, but what your mind considers tends to impact your body. So it becomes a physical health issue as well. How many people live with depression, and yet you wouldn't know looking at them? This was elevated during the pandemic, when those systems and supports that we had that were usual to us and normal all of a sudden disappeared. And we had to create a new normal. We're grateful because advocates are so important, not just to share information, but to sound the alarm, to make sure that we're ever aware of the differences and what we can do to make a difference. Seasonal depression awareness. This month and all months is so important because the holidays can heighten this that much more. As we welcome Carissa, one of the things we want to make sure that we elevate is that your mental health is too important to ignore. Family, loved ones, co-workers, your parishioners, folks in the grocery store, everyone you encounter, we are one community. And it makes a difference to know that depression is something that can be treated, but more importantly, we can come together as a community to help those around us who need to know that we care, who need to understand that they're not in this alone, that SAD, seasonal, is as just important as seasonal depression awareness. SAD stands for seasonal affective awareness. They both coincide and are heightened during the holidays. I want to just bring this on a personal level. It's important because I recently lost my dad. My dad was my hero. I've been very vocal about the fact that I'm so grateful that I had someone who saw me as important in his life and took raising me as priority. So I read something on social media the other day that hit me. And it said, until you've buried a parent, you really can't understand the loss. Also, until you've buried a child, you can be empathetic and sympathetic and care, because that's what's most important. What we want to make sure to elevate today are a few things. Number one, we have to decrease stereotypes. It's very important that we're not judged by external and have no idea what someone's dealing with internally. We just shared inside the news how the flu and RSV is on the rise across these United States. And yet, so is depression. So are mental health issues. Now, that's a positive thing, believe it or not. It means that people are acknowledging that they need help more now than ever. That if it's abnormal, if it's not normal, then get help. It's out there, even if it's connecting to support groups. You wouldn't walk around with a broken leg, would you? No. If your foot was pointing to the west, you wouldn't continue to live like that. You would go seek professional care. You would make sure that you got whatever splint or support is necessary. You would make sure that as much as possible, you could be a voice to help not just yourself, but those around you. So we want to welcome Carissa, who is a regular on our show, one of our mental health advocates. Thank you, Carissa, for joining us. Seasonal depression awareness is something that's so important. Tell us, if you will, what we should know as a community.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, Tami, for having me back. I appreciate it. And to the audience for your interest in this really important topic. Again, I always preface, I start this, thank you, hi, Regina, that I'm not a mental health professional. As you said, I'm an advocate, and it is a personal to me and to my family as well, that mental health issues be addressed, and I've shared that in the past. But I encourage anyone who faces concerns around depression or anxiety or any other mental health concerns, obviously where you believe appropriate, to seek the appropriate medical care. But That being said, there are resources out there and things that we can learn, right? Uh, Seasonal affective disorder. It's an interesting one. Most people think it's associated with fall and winter. And the default is the assumption that, when the days get cold and long and dark, that's when we start to hibernate, and we too start to go quiet, and that can sometimes manifest itself this way. What is lesser known and realized is that there is a type of seasonal affective disorder that for some people manifests itself in the spring and summer. And that was surprising for me to learn. For some folks, having grown up in northern climates, I was really familiar with the concept that in wintertime, there were some folks who were affected by this. And to be clear, seasonal affective depression is different than just hunkering down for the winter, right? This is a little different than that. And I think just like the rest of nature, we may begin to feel that period of restoration where we start to do less and we start to spend more time inside, and we begin to go into our what I'll consider our dormant phase. Even trees have their dormant phase. We shed our leaves and we have our rebirth in the spring, right? So wintertime for most creatures, and us among that which nature exists, have that period of restoration. This is not what that is. When you find yourself in, typically, let's go with the typical one, fall, and the days getting darker, and you begin to experience symptoms that are depression-like. Those, again, are different than restoration and dormancy and quiet. Are you enjoying friends less and social things less? Is your appetite changing? Interestingly, particularly craving carbs might be one of the things that I learned, in kind of looking into this. Of course, the changes in sleep patterns, the changes in mood, the loss of interest in the things that otherwise you enjoy. Those may be some of the highlights around depression. Remembering that depression can be brought on by events, but it can be also brought on by what is believed with seasonal affective disorder, changes in the sunlight, particularly again in northern climates where the days are shorter, less exposure to sunlight overall, and being outside. A lot of people are outside much less in the winter, let alone, just because the hours are fewer. But there's also believed during this period of time, maybe based on circadian rhythms and changes to the brain, that it can be based on even melatonin. Melatonin is produced in greater degree during the darkness, and we're in darkness more. And is there effect from melatonin changes? Again, not a medical person, just kind of reading up on some of these things. There can be many causes, but it's the what do we do about it, right? That I think I'm here to really advocate for and speak on. And then what do we do about it is many. There's a long list, right? One of the things that you can do is get help. The very first thing is, if you believe you're going through a depression, please get help. There are medical licensed professionals and resources that are available, right? Another thing is, when you are dealing with depression, set reasonable goals for yourself. You brought it up, Tami, about the holidays, and that families, people may be going through a lot more than, what may meet the eye, right? Holidays are hard. They're lovely, but they're hard because you have the expense of them, you have the planning of them, you have that mental energy around the expectations, and sometimes the expectations not met, all the presents, whatever might be your, the meal, and my gosh, the cooking, there's a lot around holidays that, which happen to fall, a lot of them fall right smack in the middle of the toughest months, that December, January, February time. And setting reasonable goals for yourself. So you're giving yourself some self-love and self-care is an important one. So that's something else that I would communicate. Another is beyond the medical and mental health professionals, seek to be around other people and confide in people. Confide in someone else, right? Talk to people and have conversations. It's better to be with someone else often than to be alone. And when you're going through depression, you may tend to. So that's a critical piece too.
You shared so much powerful.
Another thing, Tami, that
you have shared so much powerful information, and I appreciate you coming, because here's the thing. I love how you first start out by saying, listen, I'm not a clinician. I'm not going to charge you. You're not coming to my house or to my office. The reason this is important to emphasize is individuals don't necessarily go to clinicians first. Many folks will come to yourself as a coach, or they'll hear an advocate talking and say, I didn't realize that might be a trigger for me. I didn't realize that maybe I need to consider my rest at night, or connecting with other people. Through those dialogues is typically when individuals now go see a doctor. So that's the reason this platform is so grateful to have you as a constant advocate. See, most folks, as the example I shared a little while ago, you won't walk around with a broken leg. But if you're like Tami, you might try to use rice and fix yourself and bandage it up for a little while and hobble around the house and I'm going to be okay before I finally decide, this just isn't right. Right. And the advocacy in you is what we appreciate now more than ever. You hit on something that I'd love for you to revisit if you would. And that's remembering that individuals, maybe they don't know they're depressed, but there are some who know, who sense a difference in themselves. The cheat sheets that you were just sharing, some things they could do, connecting the networks and thus. Can you walk through that again? Because there might be folks who feel their attitudes changing over the holidays and just need those tips. What could they do if they notice a difference?
Okay, so of course, if you have this, be reaching out to professionals, right? Because there are treatments available. Remember that there are treatments available. And some of those treatments, they can include, they're not always medication, right? They can include sunlight. Open up your windows. If you have a dark home, get outside more, get some sunlight. There are also light therapy treatments, right? There are light therapy treatments. There's cognitive behavioral therapy and other kinds of medical interventions, including antidepressants. So those are some of the things that you can do. In addition, there are dietary changes. Make sure you're eating a healthy diet. Get regular exercise. You get a lot of great brain chemicals moving around when your body is moving around, right? I know it's the holiday season and people tend to want to celebrate with these things, but staying away from alcohol and even drugs, because alcohol is a depressant and can create challenges for people who are already struggling, especially if they're on medications. There can be interactions. Another is, again, going to that kind of knowing your own strengths and limits during these times. If you know that you're going through these things, maybe there are days where if you're feeling particularly challenged, making big decisions isn't great on that day, right? Maybe you don't want to do that. Give yourself the grace if there are opportunities to put things off. Being patient with yourself, being realistic about things, being patient, giving grace to others, because when we're not in the best of mood, we may not be giving off the best to others either. And then another is let people help, right? Letting people help. And that's with the things that make your life easier in any way, whether that's accomplishing shopping, taking care of the kids, giving you a little bit of a time out, some of those things. Beyond all of that, there are also just a ton of resources, and they're a search engine away, right? So that's something. And I think as people realize that this is something that affects them, it's great, as I always say, to know you're not alone. You're also not alone in having this as an issue. Some over 3 million people in just the United States alone suffer with this condition. And so it's not uncommon. It's pretty easily identifiable, especially if year after year after year you find you get in a funk during the winter and you get better during the spring. Maybe you want to get that checked out, right? So there are resources, and we can certainly go into some of those as well.
Wow. Great information. And you wonder why we keep having you back, Carissa? It's too much information. And the fact that you remind us that we have to care and that folks help. I mean, it makes a difference. And that can certainly help us through this seasonal depression month. Thank you so much for sharing your mental health insight. Before we let you go, we want to take an opportunity at the Power Up to honor Hanukkah. What should we know?
Okay, so Hanukkah is a little bit misunderstood here in the States. I'll say as in particular as like folks thinking that this is a major holiday, when in fact it's actually what is considered a minor holiday. It's also confused with and kind of cross-hashed a little with Christmas, and everybody thinks, oh, it's also about gifts. Not quite. The gifts are really not as big of a deal. It is considered a minor holiday in the Jewish religion, and it is a celebration. Hanukkah actually means dedication, and it is a celebration of a military victory. There had been a Syrian king way back in the day of like 198 BC, and he had conquered the area that included the temple, which of course is the holiest of places for the Jewish faith, and the temple had been desecrated, right? It had gotten pretty messed up. And when Judas Maccabeus had gotten a small band of folks called Maccabees and had fought and won this military victory, they got back into the temple. They were pretty devastated to see that it had been really messed up. Imagine if our church had been like completely messed up and, someone had garbage on the altar or something, heaven forbid, right? It was terrible. And in getting to clean that up and make it a holy space again and rededicate it again, they were finally done and they were getting it ready. And they went to light their menorah, their Hanukkah, their menorah. And it's supposed to have oil, to light these lamps. And they only had enough for one night. And this is supposed to be for 8 nights. And at this, they only had enough oil at that point to light for the one night. And it wasn't due, a delivery, we'll say, wasn't due for several days later. And what happened is that this oil that should have only lasted one night lasted for 8 nights in a row and lit the temple for these 8 nights in a row, until their oil was delivered, right? If we're putting it in kind of modern terms, the easiest way I would say is, imagine if you had 10% of battery left on your cell phone, right? And it lasted for 8 days using your phone. I mean, that people would think that's a modern miracle. Well, for the folks who were there, the fact that they went to light this little tiny jar of oil and it lasted for 8 days until the rest of the oil was delivered was considered a miracle and a celebration of getting their temple back.
Wow. And can you help us understand the menorah? What should we know about the lighting of this?
Sure. So with the candle lighting, the fun part of that is you put, it's just some simple things. There are some prayers that go along with this, but you put your candles in from right to left, and you light them from left to right. So you light the latest one first, right? And you light it from a central candle called the shamash. And that, of course, represents, each night you do it, represents the nights of how long that the oil lasted. And one of the other things separate from, and the menorah is different in that it has 8, and non-Hanukkah have, I believe it's 7. So if you have other menorahs that are not a Hanukkah, right, you'll look at them and they don't necessarily have the 8. So you'll see that distinction if you ever wonder that. One of the other things that is tied, and I'll just share this, is that because it's a celebration about the oil, is that there is a joyful eating of a lot of fried foods. and so oil heavy foods. And so you will see folks celebrating by having meals like their potato pancakes called latkes. Another is the jelly roll, like fried jelly rolls. And the name is escaping me right now, but they're jelly filled like powdered donuts. And I'll remember it as soon as I come off because I ate it last night, and there's one over on my kitchen counter looking at me laughing that I can't remember its name. And all of the other kinds of things that are celebrated along with the little trinkets or toys or gift giving. And one last thing is that, sometimes folks don't just do gifts every single night. I know families who take one of those nights instead of giving gifts to each other and use it as a night to give gifts to others as an act of grace and giving as well. So there's all sorts of traditions as wide as the folks who keep the faith, but those are just some of them.
Thank you so much for educating us. We care on this platform about the globe. Everyone matters to us and every voice does. Carissa, thank you, not just for being the mental health advocate that you are and elevating the importance of emotions and the reality that everyone's emotions matter, but also educating us on Hanukkah. Many folks may never have understood, and now you've shared some insight today. Thank you, and from the Power Up, happy Hanukkah. We're so grateful you joined us, Carissa. Family, wow, we try to bring you the best of the best. There's more after this. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Hi guys, it's Tina Wynn, your host of the podcast You See Me. I want you guys to stay encouraged, continue to come out and see me, and most importantly, see yourselves. Remember, the only way that you can truly enjoy life is to see other people so that you can enjoy the beauty of seeing yourself. Come join me Saturdays at 4 on the We Empowered Network. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Power Up. As always, we try to bring you a content chock full of information so that we can all grow in knowledge and change the world together. We've got generations coming behind us, our children, our grandchildren, our grandchildren's grandchildren, and we want to do what we can to make this a better place for them. Well, we're going to move now into our motivation moment, and we're going to respond to a email request received from a viewer. We want to thank you, Miss Susan V, for your question, your statement, your thoughts. Susan says, I'm struggling with starting. You had a presentation that helped me understand that there are goals and dreams I can achieve. I don't know how to start. So, Susan, we're going to stop and talk about goal setting today. Thank you for elevating first that you acknowledge it's a struggle. And let me tell you, you are not alone. For someone who has tried to lose weight or had to figure out how to write a book or start a business, there are many of us that face daily decisions. And it's just the what do I do first? So I first want to say the struggle is not, you're not feeling that alone, but the victory is that you acknowledge that you need help. And we got the answers for you. First, goal setting, something you address. We do presentations regularly, especially for individuals who are trying to make career shifts, where they want a promotion or want to start a business. Everything starts with your plan. You can have all the dreams in the world, but until you figure out what has to happen first, what your efforts and your energy needs to go into, you end up spinning your wheels. So whether you're sitting still in a struggle and not sure what to do, or you've tried 1,000 things and none of them have worked, here's the thing. Setting goals is so important because I tell folks regularly, if you've ever dreamed about going to the moon, it's possible. You know why? Somebody's already been to the moon. There is nothing you can dream of that cannot happen. It just takes you getting maybe those financial resources, connecting with the experts, the people that can get you where you're trying to go. But please dream big and keep figuring out what you want to do. Don't ever stop or let folk limit you. I want to share this. Sometimes you've got to turn your haters into your motivators because individuals who have limited sight can't see what God has for you to do, what you were built in this earth to accomplish. And those people, folks around you, the ones that don't seem to buy into your plan, is possibly because you're the only one that knows what the plan should be, or what the goal should be, or what's in your heart that you want to accomplish. So let's set some real steps for you. How do you get out the struggle? How do you start moving forward? Remember, bite sizes, toddler steps, small actions count. If you think about it, a toddler who's just learning how to walk, they fall down, get right back up, fall down, get right back up, fall down, get right back up because they have a goal. They're trying to get to mom or dad, or they're trying to get to that toy, whatever is their focus. It doesn't matter how many times they fall. In fact, every time they fall, they learn how to get back up and how to stand straight and walk and how to put one foot in front of the other. Your struggle in this season is temporary. Just make clear what you want to accomplish. Goal setting can improve your growth mindset, can help you be more proactive in life, can certainly help you become more persistent in spite of obstacles. I heard that they say it took more than 100 failures to finally create the light bulb. Thank you, Mr. Edison, for not stopping at number 77, number 32. How about 98? Family, in your moment of struggle, acknowledge that it's just a moment. It's just a space where, regardless of where you are right now, it's about the other side of through, continuing to move forward. And I want for you to consider that an attitude of gratitude, your mindset, that your elevated altitude can often be because of your attitude, can always make you propel and push and rise up in those moments of weakness and unsurety. But most importantly, it's not the end. Pick what you're passionate about and start there. Pick what you love to do and start there. As a coach, when I work with executive leaderships, executives on many different levels, the very first thing when they approach me with a problem we talk about is, what are you trying to accomplish? What is the end result? When you cross that finish line, what do you want to have to see and celebrate? That's how you define what your goal is. You know, I love reading. I'm a book person. Well, how about author a book? Everybody else is doing it. Why can't you? How about prioritize one goal at a time so it's attainable? Listen, if you want to lose that 50 pounds, I feel you, go get it. You know why? You can lose 50 pounds. However, you didn't gain it overnight. Can't lose it overnight. It takes habits, daily habits. Those smoothies instead of that shake, that steak, right? It takes maybe switching the type of meat to being more lean. Change takes a change so that you can accomplish what you want to. But most importantly, it is attainable. Make sure that as you decide what you want to do, you do that good old writing a vision and making it plain. That pen and paper, spreadsheet, if you're new school, putting it in your phone, reminders, your list, however you want to do it, seeing it makes a difference because it helps you regularly remind yourself, this is what I'm doing this for. People who watch me drink water know that I always have something floating in it. Lemon, cucumber, maybe ginger, a mint, those things that can help build my immune system because my immune system fights certain things. So I need the extra stuff in the earth to help me. Well, some people might think, yeah, but that's just sipping water that has it infused. That's not helping. I want you to know, number one, mentally, it's helping. Number two, I've come off of some medicine since I've adapted that habit. So tell my doctor it's not helping. But to tell other people that's what I want to do and this is how I'm starting, immediately started to offer folks and their opinions that were unwelcome. Primarily because folks will see you and judge from what they see versus seeing you and the potential in you. The fact that it's only up from here. The fact that I'm nothing now like what I'm about to be. Family, sister, thank you for sending us that the struggle in starting is where you are. But can I give you some advice? Can I just share one thought? That starting is actually easier than you think. It just means putting an action in place and committing to the action. Easy one. Want to lose 50 pounds? I'll give you a real easy. Want to lose 50 pounds? Are you incorporating salads in your meals? Reason is because salads are from the earth, it's plant based. So most of the time they're not saturated fats and other things like that fried chicken and that big greasy burger and all the other stuff your body's trying to encounter. You're giving your stomach an opportunity to de-stress. You're giving your body things that it needs. One of the reasons those protein shakes and different type of smoothies are so helpful, because while you do want to eat that steak, eating it 7 days a week is not going to help you attain your 50-pound loss goal. Tap into resources around you. You can walk into a gym and get with a trainer. You can, if you have insurance, get with a dietitian. They're paid through your insurance company. You can even tap into those social media support groups where there are others with the same type of goal. The difference is you have to just make a decision. Today is the day. No more excuses. Right now, I'm going to hold me accountable. I might even get a mentor coach or an advisor and get an accountability partner. Maybe I'm going to do this with my boo. We're going to lose weight together. Whatever is the goal you're trying to start, that business, tap into somebody else that's a successful business owner that's doing what you want to accomplish. Make time with them. Maybe pay them for their insight so that they can pour into you. So you're not creating the wheel. Because if it's something you want to do, remember, somebody else has probably already done it. You can go on Amazon and get cheat sheets, get books. There's so that whole For Dummies series was written just to help people that don't know how to start. Businesses for dummies, relationships for dummies, communication for dummies. They made money just because they said, we want to help folk that just struggle. What I would for you to think about and leave knowing you are not alone. Connect with others who can be your heroes in this moment, who can hold you up in this moment, who can push you forward and be your cheerleaders in this moment. And then get up and every day check something off your list. Tuesdays and Thursdays are salads. Fridays is smoothies. I'm going to do this and this. I'm going to talk to my doctor to see what I need to cut out. I'm going to seek insight from others and then do it. Sometimes our biggest hindrance is us. We want you to leave knowing you have everything inside of you you need to win. And check this out. Make sure that when you reach whatever that goal is, that you email us back, because we stand in victory and want to celebrate your success. Can't wait to see what you accomplished. Come on. We believe in you. You got to believe in yourself. Family, we hope this motivation moment was helpful. It sure helped me. I needed to hear some of that. But stay tuned as we go into our wrap up. What an amazing show. There's more after this.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Terry Y. Hicks, and I am inviting you to put a little hope back into your holiday season. Join me every Tuesday for the rest of the year, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for Hope for the Holidays.
Welcome back, family. Wow. We started today, this segment, by talking about the news elevated by the CDC on the flu, how we need to focus on making sure that we protect our family from RSV, elevating National Influenza Vaccination Week, and the alarm of knowledge that's needed to protect our babies and adults over 60 who will fight airborne diseases and deal with respiratory issues a little bit harder than maybe the average individual who has a strong diet where you're eating and you're drinking those things that can help your immune system. We need to consider our family and those in our communities. Check on our neighbors, the seniors that we know we're associated with, and share information about the flu vaccine and how you can put preventions in place to help our babies and seniors against RSV. Please go to the cdc.gov to get information on both of these diseases, on how you can fight, things you can start doing, information you can share to empower those around you so we all live well together. We were then so graced by our very own regular correspondent, Carissa Riddle, who visited us to speak on seasonal depression awareness, how important it is to care and to have self-care. That if you notice that maybe the holidays cause your mood to be lowered, that there are things you can do to help you, including connecting with others, changing your space, letting others help you. And for those who may not know, it's not okay to just have yourself in a place mentally where you're isolated and feel like nobody cares. I just have to accept it for what it is. Nope. We are one human race. What happens to you matters to me. So make sure that during this season of holidays or any time you notice that your mental health is shifting, your physical health might change because of thoughts you're having. Even your emotions are out of whack. First, you're human. So this thing we live in deals with everything around us, atmosphere changing, other people, what they might dump on you at work, and what you might be dealing with, even those burying our loved ones. You matter. Your mental health matters. Consider speaking to mental health professionals. And if you're not quite sure and you just don't feel like that's the avenue, it's okay. There are support networks, shifting your diet, Carissa Shell, going outside, just getting some light in your day can totally change your attitude. But don't go it by yourself. We would rather hear your story than read your obituary. Please feel free to reach out to those that can help you. And most importantly, know you're worth all the love and all the happiness and seeing everybody else succeed. You're worth it, no matter what you're dealing with. Then we went into our motivation moment where we responded to an email from a viewer who said that she's struggling with starting. Whatever the goal is in front of her, she's just struggling with starting it, accomplishing what's in front of her. So we were glad to be able to share a lot of tips, making sure that your goals are clear, that they're written down, making sure that you connect to folks that are doing what you want to accomplish. Get connected to somebody who's already doing it. Maybe there's someone that you see that has a successful area in that, or something you believe is successful, because nothing's perfect, but at least they can tell you how they got there. We get that struggling is real and starting is real. What we want to remind you is it's temporary. Don't make permanent decisions in a temporary space. Keep going. Keep your eyes on the finish line. And then before you know it, that list turns into, well, I thought I just wanted to do this. Now I got 20 other things. Why not? If you notice everybody else winning, you were built to win. You weren't built to break. Come on, family, take that motivation moment and know it was meant just for you. And as we're in our wrap up now, we want to highlight a most important moment. World AIDS Day was December 1st. The theme for this year, remember and commit. Speaking of struggles, there are folks across the land, the country, the globe who live with HIV and AIDS. And we want to take this moment to elevate the cause of awareness and healthcare. There's been much advancement in the healthcare community on how to fight and treat HIV and AIDS. Used to be a death sentence, is not as much in statistics anymore. And there are resources and information you need to be aware of. Now, back in the day when AIDS first hit the scene, individuals had a stigma about that it had to look a certain way. You couldn't be around the folks. You didn't know what it meant. Honey, that is over. There are some amazing, successful individuals living with HIV and AIDS, and you would never know, except that they are so vocal in their advocacy. Because just like those living with other diseases and illnesses, there's treatment and lifestyle changes that can help you win. Whether you're living with HIV or AIDS, know someone who is, or just care about your community and the world at large. Get educated. World AIDS Day information can be found on hiv.org. www.hiv.org elevates the need for those red ribbons to fly every September 1st, to make sure that we're connected with people and communities and increasing and enriching those who might already be dealing with it. But guess what? They don't have to deal with it alone. Family, we ought to embrace, uplift, and be educated. Go to hiv.org so you can learn more about what the federal government, even the White House, has established as plans and fact sheets and ordinances that can help understand World AIDS Day and what you can do in your community to elevate. We also want to share for those who might be living with HIV that HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, has a website available for those who with housing opportunities for persons living with AIDS. HOPWA. You can go to the website and get information on resources, rental assistance, maybe medical care, what you might need from federally funded programs meant just to assist the families who are caring for loved ones who are living with HIV and AIDS. Housing opportunities for persons living with AIDS. HOPWA has been a successful program for years, funded by the federal government, your tax dollars, to help those who are in need. Consider, if you are tapping into those resources, know you're not alone. Know that we care. hiv.org, and making sure when you put your red ribbon on and draw attention, that when people say, "What's that about?" you can say, "I stand globally with my family during World AIDS Day." You matter to us, and we will remember and commit. Family, thank you for joining the Power Up today. Thank you to Carissa for sharing her continued advocacy. And thank you for the producers of the Power Up for continuing to elevate such important content so that we all grow together. We'll see you next time.